which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Please come to order. We do have proof of posting in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code as amended, known as the Texas Open Meetings Act. At this time, we shall hear from any members of the public that would like to speak.
Good morning, Judge Grant, Commissioners. I'd like to speak this morning about the oil and gas question we had sent, our county attorney had sent the state attorney to. And I had sent our county attorney a letter previously a year ago that says we need to do something about this. And then when you guys asked him to do it, he did send a letter requesting that the Railroad Commission determine what noise needs to be included in the plan, their annual plan, and what we're going to do about the public safety. What we got back from the County State Attorney General, Mr. Paxton, in the summary here, says Natural Resources Code Section 81066 requires the Railroad Commission's Oil and Gas Division to develop and publish an annual strategic plan concerning the Oil and Gas Division's monitoring and enforcement activities. Section 81066 is an amendment to the current law and added Section A and B. Under the plan, the plain language of the Section 81066, absent any monitoring and enforcement activities of the Commission's Oil and Gas Division relating to the control of noise, or any statute or Commission rule concerning the Commission's control of noise, the Commission is not required to include information on noise control in its annual plan. But yet the law in Section 81066A, and that's usually the most important issue. There's A, B, C, D, and E. A is the most important. And under that A, the Railroad Commission is required to develop and publish an annual plan regarding the Commissioner's use of monitoring and enforcement resources to ensure public safety and provide and protect the environment. And that's the Section A of that law amendment. And the Railroad Commission has failed us. They're not doing anything about Section A. That they have B, C, D, and E is all addressed. So what are they doing about public safety? And what public safety issue do we have? We have a major issue with noise. And it's not just any noise. It's low frequency noise that most people can't hear. But whether you hear it or not, your body's still affected. And so I've also written comments back to the Railroad Commission concerning their annual plan, that they must address public safety. And they're not doing that. Well, what can we do about that? If they don't want to do something, we can do something here in this county, because the federal government, who had the noise control, delegated their authority to state and local governments. And that control can be taken over by the local government for control of noise. And I've even written to our U.S. representative previously and got an answer back from the EPA. The EPA did control it. It says the EPA delegated their authority to state and local governments. And so the EPA is not doing anything. So who's going to do something? It's got to be us. We've got to take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and control it. But otherwise, it's not going to happen. And we've got people in this county that are dying. And in January, I had to go to the hospital and they gave me a diagnosis of mini stroke. I couldn't hardly talk. I couldn't hardly walk. Certainly couldn't drive. And so now I've got to assessing whether or not I should even have a driver's license, because the medical people apparently send something to the agency. So I'm having to go to a doctor and say, hey, am I okay to drive? I've been driving all month, whatever. And so I got to get that done. So it's such a major issue because we have children in our county who's had brain damage in the womb before they were born. And I was over there in the area where they live, and my granddaughter was playing baseball, and I had to leave that baseball park and go back over to Brooksville because my head was hurting so bad from the compressor station nearby. We've got people dying, and I can put several names, and a couple of people went with me to Austin to talk to senators' representatives about this issue several years ago. And what happened when we got back? Within 3 weeks, both of them were dead. And I had been severely traumatized by the noise, but I managed to escape and had protective gear that I wore, so I survived. And I've been surviving ever since. I've been fighting this stuff since 2007.
And, you know, to address that issue, we've talked about that before, about the EPA passing that authority. But a county can only do what is given to the county through the Constitution or through laws that have been made, which is why you went down there to try to get the law changed or get it put into the law that noise was covered. So we'll have to rethink our situation now.
We really do. I mean,
Yeah.
if nobody else is protecting us, what are we going to do to protect ourselves? We can take the bull by the horns.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
And thank y'all. Good morning. Thank you for putting on the agenda the budget for the Trueston Central Plaisel District. And my reason for bringing that to y'all's attention is to, I think the law is very clear on what the requirements are in their budget presentation. And you can check the box on several things that they presented, but there's one box that you can't check, and I'm going to read from the law, 6106 briefly. Each year, the chief appraiser shall prepare a proposed budget for the operations of the district for the following tax year and shall submit copies to each of the taxing unit participating in the district and to the district board of directors before June 15th. They met that deadline. He shall include, and that's the chief appraiser, he shall include in the budget a listing of each proposed position, which they did, so you can check that box. The proposed salary for the position, which they did, so you can check that box. But here's one that's not disclosed. All benefits for the purpose of the position, so you cannot check that box. The other one, each proposed capital expenditure and an estimate of the amount of the budget that will be allocated to each taxing unit. So most of the boxes can be checked, but there's one box, and it's the big box, in my opinion, all benefits, because there's 7 appraisers, and each one of them gets a $13,000 travel allowance, but it's not disclosed in the budget. It just shows salary and their longevity pay. Also, the appraiser district pays for their hospitalization insurance, and that's not broken down by position. And the law is very clear. It says all benefits proposed for the position. And this is not legalese. It's difficult for us to understand. It's very clear to me as to what the requirements are. And that's my sole purpose. I don't have any axes to grind. I don't have any animosity toward anybody on the board or the bud. But I just think that as county officials, well, they're a separate entity, I understand. But they give y'all a bill. This year, I believe it's, let me see what the dollar amount is.
About 300,000.
Yeah, it's about 307, 308. okay,
For this next year.
for this next year. And I think anytime you're presented with a bill like that, that the description of what you're paying for should be included. Thank you, appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, then we'll move to item number 1, which is to approve the minutes of the July 7th regular meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes.
On 14,
That's just right.
on our awarding bids, material and stuff, I think it's item that's still TMS. Everybody's in there and send us
They did a name change,
TMS?
yes.
Really? Okay, good deal. Second.
All in favor, aye.
Uh,
Any opposed? None, motion carried. That's not part of the minutes, that's just a little schedule showing when we're going to have our meeting. Item number 2 is budget transfers and amendments. And we have a whole page of them. Looking at this budget transfer, it looked, our grocery line item in the jail, they went up on the fees a little bit on that. Is that right?
Oh my God, Metro handles that stuff.
That's on number 7.
Mhm.
Number 7.
Yes.
She had mentioned to me about being necessarily short, but that's, she just comes to me with problems, so.
I'm sorry, say that again.
She hasn't mentioned anything about being short, but she just comes to me with problems. So
Yeah.
is that a transfer into,
Yeah. I think I noticed the weekly ones were higher than they had been for a little while.
probably like everything else going on?
Yeah. Just
Well,
give a
and
little
then
explanation.
last year, we might not have had quite as many inmates either when we were looking at the budget.
Hmm. We didn't have any at all.
Right,
Mhm.
and are y'all full now?
Yeah, we're staying in the low 30s,
Uh-huh.
yep.
Mhm.
So we're gonna have enough in inmate housing to cover it through
For the
the,
year.
through the rest of the year?
Yes, I believe there will be. Also, we'll be talking about this at budget time. It's time for us to renew our contract, and I did call the Limestone County judge to get him to send us a new contract. They are gonna go up on our fees. I know, probably to $40, so we should be getting that pretty soon, and that's really still very cheap considering a lot of places are $45 to $50. More than that, yeah. So, we'll be addressing that. And what you have in the little sheets that we have now didn't have that increase, so we'll have to change that a little bit. Mhm. That number 8 is it's not actually a shortage, we're just moving it from one department to the other department, a shortage in that one department. Should we this next time, would it be the reason we separate those is because of the 911 and having to report? Isn't that what you use to report to Hot Dog?
So, yes, and Karen and I talked about it because it does present me a little problem when it's separate. Because after we change it over, then I'm having to send Hot Dog information out of 631 and the insurance information out of 631 versus the insurance information out of 571. And so she does forget from year to year why I'm sending her, why we split it.
Yeah.
And so then she'll question me on it and I have to explain it to her, we split it here. So it would be better if we put the insurance just in one.
All right, would there be a problem with us putting it all in that 571? When I say a problem, the amount that still is showing as an expense in 911 is not fully reimbursed, even if we don't have the hospitalization in there, is that correct?
Correct, we only get half. So whatever the
But there's a
hospital.
maximum still that they pay.
Oh, yes, that's correct, 24,000.
So if we didn't put hospitalization in the 911, we still would have enough expenses in that department that we would get the full reimbursement.
I think the hospital is a big chunk of that, so my recommendation, they're only gonna pay us up
So
to
put
that
it all
amount, so
in
I
the
say put it all
911?
in the 911 side, because when I do the report, that's where she needs to see it in the 571.
Okay?
Now, we're still not gonna ask for the whole amount, we're still only gonna ask
Yes,
for
because
half.
that would be a little misleading if it's all
Yes,
in there.
that's-
But yeah, it'd be easier for all of it to be in there and you say, I'm only claiming half. I
That's
got you.
correct, yes,
All
ma'am.
right, we'll change that. And that is, is it in 631 county
Yes.
services?
Yes,
And we want it to be all in 571.
yes, just that one employee.
Okay.
And Judge, when you get to the budget sheet that we did, I believe, since we had already discussed that, I believe I put it all in. the
Okay, so
budget sheet.
that's all fixed then.
I believe that's correct, we'll make sure of that.
Okay. Any other discussion on those?
Make a motion to pass the approve the budget transfers amendment.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Item number 3 is to approve and pay bills. Okay, there are 3 sets. Is that correct?
3 sets.
There's one on the very last page that's a separate one. Is that the one with
One should be state fees, the state
state
fees.
fees? That's a separate one. Yes. It comes in and, they deduct the constable's fees and whatever else, and then send the judge to that attorney's office and it's his.
Which one is it?
Okay, so,
Second.
second set, page 2.
73. Who's these two?
There was a lawsuit in, Fort Worth, I think. And, it included some property that was in Frisco County. It was, against an individual. I don't know the particulars of it really.
But that property was on, was it if you were going from Teague to Fairfield, it would be on the right-hand side of the road, correct?
Is it Mark?
No, it's in the precinct.
The Mark on our board?
North side of the road. I don't know where the property was. All I know is that that came to the constable and, I swear,
It's been going on for like since 2001. Long time.
Yeah.
That's the sale they had on the steps in
That's
Kent.
the step, yeah,
Sessions.
one we went to, you know, me glad.
Yeah, one of them.
I think the Walker's living next door. I don't think that makes any difference. That might tell you where that was. Walker's.
I will check, you know.
Any other questions?
Make a motion to pay the bill.
is to approve the payroll.
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Item number 5. And all these lists, the only thing that's listed on the front are payroll salary changes. Is that correct?
That is correct. If there's a change, or what y'all requested, like that admin
Admin
time, or the over 29 hours,
Mhm.
anything that y'all requested, let y'all know.
Item number 5 is reports. Auditor's report for June. The treasurer's report based on the auditor's report for that month. And that is what is put on the website for, I know, transparency. For transparency, some of those things are placed on the website. Have a report from the tax office of the annual collections. And also a report of the 2020 tax year collections from October of 2020 through June of 2021. Is that when, at the end of June, is that when they, isn't there something that changes at the end of June?
Well,
They
I'll
go
just-
into the delinquent on these rolls.
Well, there's a additional fee that the attorney's fee attaches on July 1st. A lot of the school districts, their fiscally, they look at a July 1st through a June 30th collection, so I just included that for information. A lot of school districts
There was something that happened.
request that.
There was.
But we collected 95.81.
Percentage.
For June. Okay.
Lots of numbers in this report.
Sure is.
Almost 96%. That's good. Also, a report from county clerk for the month of June. District clerk for the month of June. AP2. For June. And the extension, I'm sorry, senior services. Anyone else have a report? All right, if not, do we have a motion to accept the reports?
Motion to accept the report.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Item number 6, burn ban. We do not have a burn ban in place. There's no motion, then there will be a no action. Item number 7, are there any special road use agreements? Item number 8, to approve bond and education certificates. If not, we'll go to item number 9, the Freestone Central Appraisal District budget. I did talk to Bud to see if there was going to be any revision. He said if there was going to be a dispute, it must be filed within 30 days of approval of the budget, and there was none filed, so it was too late to oppose. All right. Item number 10.
Gotta love it.
Sir?
Said you gotta love it.
Item number 10 is to accept the county maintained road mileage certification. We have, you have a list of what is showing as road mileage for each one of the precincts. I'm not saying that's correct, but that's what we have. And it says 635. They are saying, according to their calculations, they being the state, that we have 651.
I'm sorry, say that again, Judge.
We have, Beth did a little printout. Where's my ruler? Beth did a little printout and said that we have a total, according to our records, of 635. But then this certification says, in September, the certified county maintained road mileage from 2020 will be submitted to the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles for disbursement of the title and registration fees, and to the state comptroller's office for disbursement of the lateral road and bridge funds. Updates made by August the 31st of 2021 will be reported in September of 2022. So our 2020 certified mileage, according to them, is 651 miles. And since I don't know that we have officially checked ours, I think we're within the margin of error to say we think that might be correct.
Thank you, Sean.
I don't think it's correct on an operating thing.
Well,
How do they get this number?
I don't really know, they don't tell us.
That does seem pretty short. I
It
mean, that
does.
doesn't seem,
But that's why we've got down what we show, and so each of you can either, we can get someone to drive the roads and see what the mileage is. We've talked about that before, but it's a pretty big task. And, you know, in order for us to get this lateral road money, which is about $7,000, we'd probably have to spend how much in time to get everybody to check the roads, to see how many miles we have, so it would be correct. It would be a good thing for us to know, so that's just up to y'all if y'all want to try to do that project.
Did my project, 2002, and I should have brought it over here, but that's where I went down. I don't know how many miles and system miles it was.
Do you know how many of those are?
No, ma'am, but it's on that on my list.
Okay,
Oh,
well, let's look at that and see how close it is to what we have on here.
I think I had 188 in 2002.
Okay,
That leads me to believe probably none of them were.
probably not.
And that may not very much to get $7,000, just say go back and do all that.
I
So
took
it
what
takes a while, but I do it.
I took what was on the sheet, but I had 4 that were not on the sheet, and I measured those myself and added.
I corrected mine on my road report that I turned in. Corrected mileage and so on.
Okay, and
And I took all of that and updated it, and that number that I came up with was from the road report we just turned in.
so for today,
When it gotta be done by,
30 days ago.
well, we've been talking about this for how many years, we don't think this is right. So we can put this off for a little while, but are we really gonna go out and get something done? All right, if the mileage is incorrect, do not sign this document. Instead, please download a copy of this document using the download button above, then follow the instructions on pages 4 and 5 to submit updates.
I said 650 what?
651.
You told me the other day you had 300. No.
It looks like,
He feels like he's got 300.
it looks like, maybe these were estimates in the beginning, because one is 150.3, 151.5. We won't put yours because you didn't check yours. And then 4 is 150.4. So we can certainly,
Ought to be getting about 3% of each of them budget, if that's right.
if
No,
that's
we're
right.
gonna count them road miles again.
Well, that was the discussion before. If everybody checks their own, are you gonna trust what the one commissioner puts down over another, because they may put down more to try to get more money?
Not this and down here.
So there we are. All right, we can surely download the copy and see how we can update it. But we're gonna have the figures to update it. And that's about 20% probably.
Do they do this each year?
Pardon?
Do they do this each year? How often? Yeah.
So what we discussed before is, before next year, we need to get this done. We need to check them and see how many how many miles we actually have. Because it will take, how long will it take?
Takes about 2 or 3 days, time to go down and do that road, turn around and come back.
And that's just strictly doing that for about 3 days.
You gotta have the button on your deal to pull it.
So we can delay sending this in if y'all want to
See
try.
what roads he got. Might don't dead end, might just keep on going.
I mean, we stop and go back to another. If there's some dead end roads, completely dead end. So I think it may be like a bass fishing, championship. You gotta have somebody involved with you, somebody in your truck to check everything.
Well, since we have an auditor, maybe we can get Karen to ride with it. She could verify, right? We would trust her as being
I know who would
independent.
come out on the short end of that deal.
Okay, what are we gonna do? Let's get back
Andy
to
would
it.
have 300.
It's done for this year, and by next year, we'll have it done.
Yep.
All right.
Done.
All right. Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
What y'all said last year?
And the year before, and 10 years ago, I think. All in favor, aye? Motion carried, thank you. Seriously, we have talked about this for years. All right, now we'll go, that was number 11, consider going out for bids for hauling. Yes, we do, or
I make
yes,
a
we
motion
don't?
that we need
Go out
to
for
go out.
bids.
All?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that a second?
Yes, ma'am.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 12, we're going to pass that. Item number 13, accept the consultant services master agreement to perform psychological services to Freestone County Sheriff's Office. Are those psychological services for the sheriff's
New hires.
employees, or is it for the inmates?
Sometimes we need our own, but this is for the new hires. When they come on, we have to have it. That's something they have to do and have to pass. So it's just, we've already got an agreement, we just need a new one.
On-call psychological assessment for peace officers, jailers, telecommunication evaluations, 12 hours a week of inmate counseling
Oh, that is the one for the jail.
for the jail,
Yes.
actually.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it threw me up when it said peace officers, jailer, telecommunicator evaluations.
Well, we can always, I mean, they'll also help within our employees also,
Okay.
if they want it.
So this will cover your new hires too?
No, that's gonna be Taft. Is that Taft?
That is
Yeah.
taken.
Oh, maybe it is all of them. I thought it was two different people.
TAF does everything.
And that's what it is. It's the whole, everything then. So they do inmates and us.
Because it says peace officer, jailer, telecommunicator evaluations, 12 hours a week for inmate counseling. That's something that the
We have to have,
legislature
yes.
required us to have available, thanks to them. On-call psychological assessment and mental health screening. If that basically is if you think someone that comes into the jail that needs assistance beyond this.
And she comes in every day. She comes to the office every day and works however many hours she needs to.
There's a schedule of how many, of all the services that they provide. And there's a separate rate per evaluation for the on-call and the peace officer, jailer, telecommunications. But the 12-hour per week of inmate counseling is a set monthly fee.
And that's the mandated by
That's the
the
mandated
state.
part.
Yep.
And they sent the money for it.
Oh, yeah, they wrote us a check.
They always send us money, don't they?
All right, do we have a motion on this?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
And the motion is to enter into that interlocal agreement. All in favor, aye. Motion carried. You'll need to sign this in a minute, gentlemen. Item number 14 is the City of Teague Service Agreement application for water at Precinct Barn 2. Said they're updating their files and they did not have an agreement with Precinct 2. Do we have a motion to approve this service agreement
No, I make that.
application?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Item number 15, interlocal agreement between Heart of Texas Council of Governments and Keystone County for the E911 Public Safety Answering Point Service. Let me just read you the gist of this. It's basically the data maintenance for the 911 service in your office.
Yes.
They provide the equipment.
Yes, it provides some of it, yes.
Okay, for the 911. And for them providing the equipment, we provide the services. And this details what our part in it is and their part is in it. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Return is September 1st, 21 to August 31st of 23. And that's the reason it's called interlocal agreement. Our part is to provide the services and their part is to provide the equipment. I have a motion to enter into this interlocal agreement. All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Budget workshop. All right.
16.
Number 16.
You got 16.
I do have a 16. Oh, okay, is that,
One for maintenance and one for anchoring.
okay. Thank you.
I thought it was all one thing, so it's basically covering all the same stuff.
Okay, the one I was talking about, I guess, was actually number 16, was us providing the services on that. Number 15 is the data maintenance
Yep.
agreement. And that is for the use of the 911 equalization services.
And then they keep all the data
Yeah.
for the state, well, for our county, but for the state, yeah.
But this is for the data maintenance equipment itself. The other is the providing for the answering services. There's a list of all the maintenance, all the equipment that is there. And we are to, do we provide insurance on that, or do they hot call?
On the, when they come in and fix it,
As far, no, just, on the equipment itself.
anytime we have a problem, they come in and handle it. We don't do any of it.
And they do carry the insurance, Hot Dog does. We have a motion on this part of it.
Make it motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Now budget workshop. You have copies of the request from the departments, not the special funds, but just from the general fund departments. You have a copy of those. And I'm making a list of the requests that are different from our normal budget request. We'll have to amend the one in here for the Limestone County contract once we get that, because it'll be a little higher since it's going from 38 to, I think, 40. Of course, we'll have to approve that contract too, but there will need to be that amendment. In Department 420, there's a request to move the deputy treasurer to the pay grade 5. Section 430, there's a request for a salary increase for an employee. Department 505 is requesting a 5% raise for everyone, plus $19,000 in part-time. 525, we've talked about, there's a difference there because we've decreased the juror amount that they have requested. Part of that is going to be paid out of the capital murder litigation. So it will come out of that section 525. So that's why it's showing a little decrease on there. Court reporting, special may need to be moved. Court reporting is not covered though by that grant, is it, Karen? Reimbursement, grant reimbursement?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
So we probably need to move that also, all those amounts to that, okay? In section 5, or Department 560, juvenile, we had previously been budgeting about, about $160,000 for juvenile. 60. We did not budget anything last year because there was a surplus in that juvenile fund, and so we are using that surplus up. So this year, that will not be a budget item again. But just remembering that after, I think probably after this year, that budget will be used up. That was $160,000, and we'll have to go back to budgeting for that juvenile. We didn't have the budget for it last year, and we won't have to this year. There are some things in here on 562 for Constable Precinct 2 needing or requesting some additional things. And the Sheriff's Department, there's a packet in there from the Sheriff's Department that you'll need to look over.
Oh, that was your reading off then?
Just a kind of a recap. Yes, it is. we'll need to change probably the inmate housing. We talked about that. On the extension agents, we had another discussion with the extension agent, we will when they come in, saying that if we raise our contribution, that our extension agent would get that raise. But I have talked to some other people that say that's not correct, that they just, you know, we went through this, I don't know if you were here at that time. We would try to raise those amounts, like increases in salaries and things, just like every other employee got. But what we found out at that time was, all that was doing was decreasing what the state was paying. So we decided that that wasn't benefiting us, that was just benefiting the state because it wasn't helping our agent either. So that'll be another discussion. We're gonna need to talk about the emergency management coordinator position and where we are with that. And then, in 640, there's going to be a change probably for that fiber optic because we got an amount, didn't we, for furnishing that, extending that fiber optic out to Constable 3 and then out to the Precinct 3 barn and over to the Advocacy Center. So all of it would be within the same bill. And what we did down at the JP offices, it did give us a significant decrease in our bill. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
After we included them, plus they have better service.
About 900 a month.
Savings.
Savings.
And it'll even be more savings.
Did we get the bid in?
We did, and I haven't got a chance to tell Judge Grant, but I told her this morning, I did get a hold of one other person, and they're gonna come today and give us.
Okay. Oh, one of them was about that amount. It's a little more than what I thought it was gonna be, but anyway, in the long run, we'll look at it and see. Maybe that's not gonna be our benefit anyway. On 670, the fee, what we assist the libraries and the other entities with, those are not in there because we'll need to talk about what we're going to do. Again, on the capital murder situation, as far as where we'll be on that, it's doubtful that the trial will be this year. So we're still looking at whether or
Talking about
not
this fiscal year or this?
fiscal year. No, the budget year for this year is not going to happen. But there's been some discussion about what might happen in this next year. So we'll have to get Ryan to come and talk to us again about that and let's try to firm up where we are and see if we're going to do the same thing that we did, budget it out of surplus. And that really is not affecting our rate, our tax rate. And that's a good thing because if we'd raised money for it before, we still haven't spent it. So we'll talk about how we're going to do that. Ambulances, the fire departments, and then senior services. Anyway, you have it in your packet. If you'll review that, we have a list of the 3 dates. Today was our first budget workshop. Actually, you're just getting your information. We'll have a meeting next week, what day?
So 27th?
It's the 27th. And then the 29th.
July the 29th.
Okay, on the 27th, before the 27th, we'll have everything put in so you can kind of see where we are. We won't get our tax rate until
Can we have our pay
26th or
24?
25th.
24? I mean,
Do what?
tax,
That's a Sunday, so we'll probably get it about the 25th.
the 25th,
Yeah,
20.
yeah, so we can have it in by the 27th. Have it figured in by the 27th and have something to look at.
Actually, the 25th is a Sunday, so we had talked about it would either be probably Monday on the 26th.
26th, that's what I was thinking, 26th.
What time are you gonna take place?
9 o'clock.
On the 26th.
From 27th to 29th. Does that work?
request for the sheriff's office. We have our sheriff's conference the very first week of August this year. If we can try to work around that, otherwise
Okay.
I won't be going.
Well, and, you know, generally on those, the first two that we have in August, it's just everybody talking about their budget and what they might want, so you can come to either one of those. Or if you want to, you can talk about it on the 29th.
Well, we'll be here then. I'm just saying, as far as, I know we'll have another meeting that first week in August, because that'll be the first Wednesday regardless.
Yes, and then we'll have budget discussion on there, but then there'll still be another one after that first week that you can come to.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. All right. Any comments from Commissioner's Court? If not, is that a motion to adjourn?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All in favor?